Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be, and welcome to a post on flat Earth cosmology as a teaching aid. The whole flat Earth concept has caused me to rethink how people justify their beliefs. Flat Earth cosmologists clearly understand that it is possible for something spherical to appear flat if you are close to it. So, when spherical Earth cosmologists object on this basis, I conclude that they must be missing the point that flat Earth cosmologists are making. But what is the point that flat Earthers are trying to make? My sense is that flat Earth cosmology is attractive to people who have an inkling that modern physics as a discipline isn't nearly as smart as the advertisements suggest, and that it needs to be regrounded in foundational principles. They are not wrong about that. The compartmentalization of modern physics has made a lot of people very dumb and myopic. But I'm not sure that your everyday flat earther is any less myopic than your everyday spherical earther. They're both just expressing their preference for a certain set of authorities. Neither group seems able to see that the true purpose of flat Earth cosmology is to serve as a teaching aid to help students analyze how they justify their beliefs. When students are shown that it is possible to completely describe the physics of the Earth with both flat and spherical systems, they may realize that our mathematical descriptions always approximate a reality that can only be viewed through multiple perspectives. I am, of course, ignoring all of the flat Earth conspiracy theories about space travel. We clearly shoot rockets into space, and we clearly have pictures of a spherical Earth. You'd think that alone should trump all of the tricky arguments flat earthers come up with. But not only does it not change the point I was making earlier, if you look at a picture of a round Earth through the eyes of a flat earther, you can still map that picture onto a flat framework. A flat earther might say, "The roundness in the photos is but an illusion created by how light from the sun is bent around the flat shape." And they would use examples from optics or dark matter to prove their point. This is not a stupid way of thinking, and it is no worse than the sorts of illusions upon which most of modern physics is based. For example, if you ask, is relativistic length contraction an illusion or reality? The answer depends on whether you believe that space is curved or flat. If length contraction is reality, then space is curved and the Earth is flat. But if the Earth is curved and space is flat, then length contraction is an illusion caused by relative motion in flat space. The contraction is just a measurement artifact and not a depiction of reality. At this point, you might notice that this means Albert Einstein was a flat Earth cosmologist. Welcome to the insanity of modern physics. Are you sure you want to get that PhD now? So, as an Einstein fan might defend his hero by insisting, physics isn't concerned with the things it can't see, it only models the system according to the available evidence. After all, this blinkered perspective about literal length contraction, curved space, and flat Earth is perfectly consistent with how physicists treat quantum mechanics, where everything behaves in strange ways unless you assume that the behavior is caused by an unseen shaking motion of the reference frame. Just as when your mother played peekaboo with you as a baby, and you thought she disappeared when she covered her face. A quantum mechanic who doesn't believe in things that are unseen may insist that when he is in outer space, the Earth is literally round, but when he touches the Earth, it is literally flat, after having instantaneously transformed in its shape. as its wave function collapsed. But seriously, concerns about the effect of unseen things and the epistemology of abstraction have been debated for a very long time. Just as Margaret Cavendish chastised Robert Hooke for having too little belief in the distorting effect of things unseen, Ernst Mach chastised his colleagues for having too much faith in Cartesian abstractions that rely on things unseen. Einstein was a big fan of Mach's. That is why I think flat Earth cosmology is a useful example for teaching that when one is only able to construct a physical model based on observations from a perspective that is always limited, one tends to default to the point of view one has rather than to the point of view one can imagine. But if you want to understand a system in a larger context, you must imagine the things you can't see. This may be difficult if your students suffer from aphantasia, but we all have to start somewhere. A teacher can then use the contrast between spherical and flat Earth cosmology to illuminate modern physicists' debates about whether the universe itself is round or flat, and how this depends on the coordinate system used, Big Bang versus steady state, curved versus flat. It will illustrate that if you insist physicists should always choose the coordinate system that is appropriate for his or her viewpoint, but never interpret that system literally, then you will not be confused when space or planets appear curved from certain vantages and flat from others. You will not be confused when you learn that before Hoyle, Fred Hoyle postulated that an invisible oscillation of space itself caused the illusion of the expansion of the universe. And after Hoyle, the universe was in a steady state. Oh gosh, I really messed that up. You will not be confused when you learn that before Hoyle postulated an invisible oscillation of space itself, the universe was expanding, and after Hoyle, the universe was in a steady state. Did anything change about what we knew about the universe? No. The new framework just made certain calculations easier by getting rid of dark energy and dark matter. You will not be confused when you learn that before Einstein made literal interpretations of figurative concepts, space was flat, and after Einstein, space was curved. Did anything we know about space actually change? No. The new framework just made certain calculations easier by making the integration path straight. You will not be confused when you learn that before Aristarchus imagined things unseen, the sun orbited the earth, and after Aristarchus, the earth orbited the sun. Did any measurements of the sun or earth change? No. The new framework just made certain calculations easier. You will not be confused when you learn that before Pythagoras' geometry, the earth was flat, and after Pythagoras, the earth was round. Did the shape or measurements of the earth change? No. The new framework just made certain calculations easier. These are just mental approximations that we make to understand, to navigate the world, but the world doesn't change. The logic of modern physics tells us that because you can map a sphere onto a flat shape and use that for most calculations, it doesn't matter how you imagine the system. I think that is all most flat earthers are pointing out, and that is why I think they are playing a joke on people who think too literally about mathematical models. We can look back to all of the classic experiments which prove that the earth is round. The shape of a ship as it disappears over the horizon, the whatever. But the flat earthers are not stupid. They can come up with alternative explanations for each of these phenomena. and that should challenge you to think about how one can describe a system in two very different ways, while both ways can be equally true. After all, whenever a general relativity cosmologist makes his system self-consistent by invoking dark energy or dark matter, this is very much like a flat Earth cosmologist invoking whatever he needs to make his system self-consistent. Then again, with all of the silly people running around, and with the ease with which Lise Meitner was able to split the atom, perhaps we should be thankful for all of this confusion within the modern physics educational system. Perhaps life is easier when everyone is stupid from the perspective of a centralized intelligence, when reality is much more multidimensional. I'm not sure how I extracted my head from the atomic clouds of modern physics. Maybe I was wearing a flat earther hat, but I didn't know it. I wonder if flat earth cosmology can inoculate children from modern physics stupidity. But maybe making modern physics stupid seemed like a good idea when the world wars were blowing everything up. But those who allowed the discipline to be corrupted may have forgotten that physics education trains people in basic logic and thinking, and when you tie basic logic in quantum knots, this can corrupt people's ability to think clearly about other things. Just listen to how many people use physics language to describe all manner of topics, from emotion to social dynamics to religion. When you mix all of these topics up, you cause probably the reason why the world is the way it is today. If you would like to understand these sorts of topics in more depth, I recommend my first nonfiction book. It's the first of 3. It's called Apostatizement. It's available on Amazon. But if you'd prefer to read most of it for free, I have posted that in a space on Quora called The Myths of Modern Physics. And if you would avoid reading nonfiction and you'd prefer a more light-hearted treatment of ideas like this, I recommend my first fiction book, which was My Adorable Apotheosis. It's kind of a satire of the modern physics community. Thank you for watching. Please tune in next time. Have a nice day.